examples and stories from other change makers designed to motivate you to become the change you want to see in your world. Make sure you join our change makers community at runemagnus.com/podcast. And now it is time for you to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Good morning. It's another Changemakers podcast, and today we have another expert, quite a different expert, I would say, from many of the conversations that we had so far. Today we have our guest is Thorey Vilhjalmsdottir. She is one of the managers at the Capacent Nordic Management Consulting Firm that focuses on improving companies' profitability and cash flow. The Capacent is not only here in Iceland, it also has its offices in Sweden and Finland and holds a strong position in the Nordic market. I wanted to talk to Thorey because one of the projects that they've just started this year, I think it's a project that has everything this world is screaming for, especially with now that we have the #MeToo revolution happening as we speak. It's a project called Gender Equality Guides that certifies businesses into being, what would you call it, Thorey? And welcome to the Changemakers podcast. What does the Gender Equality Guides mean for companies?
Thank you so much, Runa. It's a pleasure to be here talking about this with you. Well, the Gender Equality Guide, it's a project that we started working on like a year ago. So we did not foresee the Me Too revolution.
No.
Happened exactly at the same time as we launched this project. So that was a coincidence, but good one. Mm-hmm. Well, what we are doing in the gender equality, we are helping CEOs. Well, we ask for the mandate of the CEO in order to have this, what would you say, we need a strong mandate to execute this project within the companies. So that's why we only do it if the board or the CEO hires us to do it. And what we do is that we analyze and identify the status of gender equality within the company or institution that we're working with. That's the first step. And while that can be very complicated to do, but we have the tools to do it. And we use many different methods. And one of the most beneficial for the companies is how we handle the culture. We try to, identify the hidden gender prejudice, to say, because there are so many, biases, gender biases that we are all holding, both men and women. Yeah. And this is one of the hardest thing it stops women in progressing within the companies, the hidden gender bias. So we are trying to identify it and present it. And that has really been a success. We did this when we were developing it. We developed it with two very prestigious Icelandic companies. Landsvirkjun, which is the largest power company in Iceland, state-owned, but run as a private company, and TM, which is one of the three biggest insurance companies. And the CEOs of these companies, they really developed this with us. And it has been a huge success. And especially, I know that they have both said, these CEOs, but what comes from the part at the beginning when we analyze, we do it through interviews, through observations. We get results from qualitative researches that they have done themselves. And we look at the salaries and if the women are getting the valuable jobs. Mm-hmm. Because now we have in Iceland the laws for equal pay. Mm-hmm. So these two companies have been implementing equal pay strategies. But this is a different view because we also want to see the women in higher positions within Icelandic companies. Mm-hmm. And we have a problem there. There are only 12% women in the highest positions in Icelandic companies, which is very, very strange, being the country that is number one at the World Economic Forum Gender Index 9 years in a row. So something is not really going the right way in Icelandic companies. Yeah, so I've been going now back and forth, but if I just frame this project, it is like 4 stages. Yeah. First, we analyze the situation. Then we hold like a company institution-wide conversation across silos about gender equality. That is also a very important part. So everybody in the company come to a meeting where we have like cross-silo groups, and people are discussing what is coming from the analysis and all the pain points that we see there, and then we start to make strategic goals. And the next step is to implement the strategic goals that we have from the group conversation and also from the steering group that is steering the project within the company with us. And then the company finishes the finish kind of the project with us, and then we measure every year for 3 years how they are meeting their goals and if they have realized their goals. So and the goals are like 6. So we measure like the women in each part of the pipeline. How is it developing? So we want to have 50% in all the pipeline, not only in the lowest part of it, but through the pipeline. So you always have women waiting also to take higher positions. Then we measure, like I was saying before, the value, how many women are in the valuable jobs, because we want to see as many women as men in the valuable jobs. Then we measure role models, how many women versus men are in media or as a spokespersons for the companies. And then we measure how many women are in a mentoring system, because we form a special mentoring system for women. And we also measure hiring process, because both of these companies we're working with on the development, they both changed their hiring process after they got the analysis from us, because they saw that there were so many things they were doing wrong, and they're just doing things the way they have always done. But we ask them to approach this in a different way. And during these projects, we are always asking the companies but we are trying to put a light on traditions that are really working against women.
Not serving it. They're not serving them anymore.
No, they're not serving them. They are totally working against them. But I think that for companies, it has been the most value has been to identify the hidden gender biases in the company culture. And that is kind of it's very similar to Me Too, but we are doing it in a strategical way. And we use storytelling to do it.
Exactly.
We show them stories about gender inequality within the companies coming from the employees, but we're very careful about not displaying anything that you can trace to a specific person.
No, of course not. Can you share a story so you were mirroring them, so men could feel what it is, what sort of a environment is a woman living in, and vice versa? Can you share a story that was an aha for them? Anything that pops up in your mind?
Well, I can't really share any stories from them, but I can tell you that it was very interesting when I was presenting, because I was presenting, for like the whole company, both these companies. And you were looking at the women in the audience, and they were like nodding, because this was nothing new for them. And you could see in their eyes that they were like, thank you so much, because they cannot say this, because they are a part of the culture. And it would be so personalized, but it's really much better for someone who comes from the outside and works a light on it, what's happening. So they were really thankful, but the men, they were so surprised and they were shocked. And that was amazing, because I really realized because I've been working in gender equality, issues for like probably 20 years. And it was an eye-opener for me to really understand that men, they are not in the same, zone as we are women. They don't see this, because they never, it doesn't happen to them. So why should we expect that they know this? They don't know it because they are not. But of course now, when we make it visible, now they will see it. And I know that there are so many of them will not participate or sit by and let it happen, that someone is, this is happening. I'm not talking about like violence. I'm just talking about the biases and how our women are spoken to in meetings, how they are expected to pick up the coffee cups after the meeting, how they are taking the notes. how they are always planning. If there needs to be a plan a meeting, then the woman is asked to do it. This is the type of hidden gender biases that all women are experiencing within companies, especially the ones that want to really progress within the company and to seek higher positions.
Yeah, I noticed it when I was listening to the introduction that you had the other day, and where the two CEOs were sharing their experience. There are two things that I took with me from Hörður. I thought it was so spot on when he was talking about how surprised he was, pleasantly surprised, I have to add, when all of the engineers that are working in the business, in their Landsvirkjun, the power company, they were eager to participate in this. I think that alone is such a huge step. So far, like you and I, we've been on this journey for such a long time, and so many other women, obviously, but we have been talking about, hey, we can't just be talking about this to another woman. We have to have the guys coming in and having the conversations that you're talking about. So I thought, wow, it's happening. Just that alone. And another thing that I noticed with Sigurður from TM, the insurance company, when he noticed, and what they noticed was how their hiring structure was such an old school thing, that I can just envision them taking a folder out of the shelf and say, okay, we need someone for this position, and this is how we advertise it for it. Was really all based to getting a guy, although you can't say a guy anymore. But everything was there. So, but they didn't really need that qualification. Yeah. So I think so many of those structures are just poof. But how are you say you give them, there are 6 goals, and there are 3 years that they're going to work on these goals, and you're going to be showing the results on the website.
Yes.
Now, what happens if they don't achieve these goals?
Then it's going to be on our website. The thing is that they have 6 goals that they need to realize, and displayed on our website. So we have like 3 stages. It's green, yellow, and red. Mm-hmm. And if you are meeting your goal, you have a green light. And if you're not really meeting it, you have a yellow light. And if you're far away from it, then you have red light. This is very motivating for companies to really set the realistic goals, but an ambitious one, because we push them to the limit to have ambitious goals.
Yeah, and exactly.
They really want to meet these goals, because you don't want to have a red light on the website. And this was also very important for us, because we give the companies like recognition that they have gone through this project, because it's really important for them to be able to show on the website or wherever they are advertising for talents or whatever, that they are part of this project, because it's really much of a value when you're getting new talents to your company, especially the one who are socially responsible. They want to see that you're doing something in gender equality. That is going to be a demand for the new generation, the Zeta generation of digital natives.
Oh, yeah.
They have social responsibility, and also the millennium revolution
generation. Yeah, they absolutely.
The thing is that also what Sigurður was saying is, with the hiring process.
Yeah.
That was really interesting, because I think this is the problem for so many companies, that they exclude women right at the beginning. They don't even ask for the jobs, because in the advertisements, it is so male-oriented. Mm-hmm. And also they are starting to think, okay, do we need to have these requirements for the specific jobs? Mm-hmm. Because we are always writing the requirements based on the person that was there before. Yeah. So especially now in the digital reality and the new age, we have totally different needs. We have totally different approaches of releasing service, for example. And so maybe we just need completely different talents. So that is an opportunity to look at if you could maybe have something that women could rather want to apply for than men. And because probably know the phrases, because I've been working with CEOs now as a consultant for quite a while, and I know that all of them say that they really want to have more women applying, and they want to have more women asking for senior positions. but they're not asking. So then we need to ask ourselves, why are they not asking? Mm-hmm. And we should not say that something is wrong with women. It's because something is wrong with the processes that we have in the companies. Yeah. Something is wrong with the image that we have and the companies have. So we need to fix that. We need to make these scenarios more attractive for women. And that is what these companies are doing. They are inviting women in, early in the process and during the process also, in the early stages of applying for a job and making the company interesting for women to work there.
Absolutely.
And also when they are there, we don't want them to go, because most of the women who are seeking high positions, who want to progress within the companies, when they hit the glass ceiling, which is there, mm-hmm. they just go. They don't report it, and they don't, and they are not saying to anyone why they are leaving. They just mm-hmm. leave, because most of the time there are only 1 or 2 women and maybe 10 or 12 men.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be the only woman who is raising issues regarding gender equality. So that's why it's really good to get like the consultant that can see it from the outside in view and what is happening. Exactly. Why is this like this and this like that? And how can we, we see things that the other people don't see. And we can talk about things that many people know, but they can't really talk about because they're part of the culture.
Absolutely. You're the third party coming in and doing that. This is so interesting. I think you have really pinpointed out the whole thing about culture and how embedded it is inside of us and how blind we are, even though we, like you're saying, CEOs and people do want to make that change, but you need help to do that and to really look at it, what it is that you want to change so that you can become the change maker in that process. I think we're so excited about this whole project. I envision that this could be a huge thing and really what is missing in so many organizations worldwide. So you're going to be busy, Thorey.
Yeah, we are busy already, so I'm very excited. Yeah.
Absolutely. So to get more information about the gender equality guides and how companies and organizations can actually get more information, they go to capacent.is, right?
Yes, right.
We will put that whole thing into the show notes so people can go directly from there and contact you directly. But from that, and before we go, can you share with us maybe 1 or 2 things that you would recommend for any CEOs who want to become a change maker in this area and really make that change inside of their organization? What is really the first thing he or she needs to think about going through this process?
Yeah, well, there are so many things that comes up to mind when you ask this question, but I think the first, what is most important is, like you were saying before, the mirroring. That's trying to, how is it to be a woman in your company? If you try to reflect on that, because that is the most valuable thing, and that is so much of a value for these CEOs that I was working with, that they really got to understand how it is to be a woman in their company, and both of them were not happy with it. This is not a good place for women, even though they had assumed at the beginning it was. Yeah. But of course, in many areas, both of these companies are quite progressive. But companies in general are not progressive in gender equality. Mm-hmm. So the norm is like really low here, well, in Iceland, and probably worse in many other countries.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are the world champions, so I just assume that it's worse in other countries. But that is very important. Mirroring and having the empathy for women, how they are, like when you have only 1 or 2 women, it is difficult for them to be within the company culture, especially when they're trying to get to the top. I would start company-wide conversation.
Company-wide conversation, yeah.
The demand for company-wide conversation about gender equality is a demand today. Because of the Me Too revelation, which is happening everywhere in all sectors, and it's, you can't really say anymore that women are not really having any obstacles. There are so many obstacles still for women, and hopefully now is the right time just to erase them. And have equal opportunities for men and women, and have the cultures that embrace both women and men, and help them to grow and progress within the companies.
Absolutely, with its beauty that each and every individual brings to the table. I so agree with you. But that does inquire courage, and it does inquire some kindness, some empathy, and it does inquire a lot of open discussions, which I think now that we have that on the table, we have, like you have created a program that is accessible and you can start to use. I know the change makers are coming into projects like this and really helping the leaders inside of to overcome their own obstacles. Mm-hmm. It's all old habits when we think about it. But so I think this is a fantastic, absolutely fantastic what you've been doing, and I wish you best of luck. And from that, I'm going to say takk in Icelandic, or bless. Thanks, Thorey.
Thank you.
Value for you? I sure hope so. If so, feel free to share the love and give us your generous review on iTunes, Stitcher or Spotify. And remember, you can always go to runamagnus.com and find out more about the Changemakers and how we can help you driving the change you want to see in